The message came in just as I zipped up my carry-on, preparing for a weekend trip to Geneva. Hi honey, your dad and I are thinking of keeping Thanksgiving simple this year. Just us, Clara, and the twins. Hope you understand. I read it twice, then set my phone down on the polished counter of my Montpellier loft. The corner of my mouth curved into something between a smirk and a sigh. Not surprised, just resigned. I'm Isabella Lane, 35 years old, and I've long accepted that in my family I'm a footnote, a muted presence behind Clara's spotlight. She's the younger one, the perfect one. Married, 2 children, a colonial estate in Connecticut, and a husband who sits on 3 boards. Meanwhile, I built my own interior architecture firm from the ground up, won national awards, was featured in 2 design magazines, and yet, Mom only wanted to discuss Clara's redesigned kitchen backsplash. Sure, Mom, enjoy your quiet Thanksgiving, I replied. My fingers were steady, even as something sharp lodged in my chest. But if anything, their message confirmed a truth I'd quietly embraced. Back in September, I closed on a restored farmhouse in Stowe. White clapboard, cedar beams, surrounded by birch trees, and a ridge of snow-tipped mountains. 8 bedrooms, a stone hearth, and a kitchen designed to host laughter. Wasn't going to spend the holiday alone. While my immediate family faded into selective silence, my chosen family had never failed me. Aunt June, who cheered at my high school art show. Cousin Leo, who FaceTimed me from every new city just to share it with me. And my best friends, people who never needed a reason to show up. I invited them all, the responses poured in. Aunt June, I'm crying, we'll bring pies and board games. Leo, booked. This house looks like something out of a film. Alina, I'll bring mulled wine and playlists, let's make this magic. 17 guests, every room filled. I'd planned everything. Snow hikes, fireside poetry readings, a chef-prepared feast, and a night under stars with stories and wine. Then, Saturday morning, another message. Maybe you can come for Christmas? If Clara's schedule allows. Absolutely laughed, still conditional, still fitting me around Clara. But not this time. I'd finally given myself what they never could. A seat at my own table. I didn't bother replying. Instead, I poured my energy into final preparations. The staff at the farmhouse had everything under control, but I still combed through the details. Every bedroom was set with personalized welcome baskets, local maple syrup, wool socks, handwritten notes. I'd finalized the itinerary, snowshoeing through the woods, a sleigh ride across the open fields, and a cozy movie night in the great room with cider and blankets. I even hired a local photographer to capture candid moments throughout the week. Then, exactly 1 week before Thanksgiving, my phone rang. Isabella, sweetheart, Mom began, her voice syrupy. I hope you're not too upset about Thanksgiving. Clara's boys have just been so high energy lately, and you know how your father gets when things feel too chaotic. I stood barefoot on the porch, watching frost glitter across the treetops. Don't worry about me, Mom, I said evenly. I won't be alone. A pause, then surprised. Oh, are you spending it with co-workers or something? The disbelief in her voice almost made me laugh, as if I couldn't have a rich, fulfilling life without their plans. Something like that, I replied coolly. Actually, I've got some arrangements to finish. Isabella, you're not working through Thanksgiving, are you? You know how we feel about. Goodbye, Mom. Give my best to Clara and the boys. I hung up just as Aunt June's SUV turned up the gravel drive, trailing soft dust in the golden light. She and Uncle Walter had driven in from New Hampshire, arriving a day early to help. Ella, this is breathtaking, Aunt June said, embracing me warmly. They really have no idea what they're missing, she whispered. I smiled. They're about to find out. Uncle Walter whistled low as he walked through the main room, taking in the pine beams and floor-to-ceiling windows. Can't wait to see their faces when the photos go up. Neither can I said. The next few days were a joyful blur. Cousins with partners, children playing in the snow, old friends arriving with pies and laughter. Every night hummed with warmth, joy, and the easy comfort of belonging. On Thanksgiving Eve, we gathered on the terrace under golden string lights. I raised my glass. To family, I said. To the ones who choose you. Not out of obligation, but out of love. Glasses clinked in unison. Tomorrow would be unforgettable, not just for us, but for those who chose to miss it. What my parents didn't know was that their quiet Thanksgiving was about to get a little noisier once they saw what they'd missed. Thanksgiving morning at the farmhouse was everything I had envisioned, and somehow, more. The scent of fresh-baked cinnamon rolls mingled with the savory warmth of roasted turkey, rosemary and sage, drifting from the open kitchen. Our private chef, a culinary genius from Burlington, had crafted a menu that fused rustic Vermont charm with holiday tradition. Maple glazed root vegetables, cranberry brie tarts, wild mushroom stuffing, and spiced apple cider steeping by the hearth. Laughter echoed through the timber-framed home. My younger cousins chased each other around the stone fireplace, shrieking with joy. The dining table, lined with flickering candles, handmade pine cone garlands, and cloth napkins tied with twine, looked like something from a magazine spread. My phone buzzed, a text from Clara. "Happy Thanksgiving. Mom asked me to check if you're doing okay by yourself. We could FaceTime later if you're lonely." I looked around. Aunt June and Cousin Leo were arranging the charcuterie board. My friend Alina had taken charge of the mulled wine station. Uncle Walter was outside, building snow forts with the kids, while others swapped stories and laughter over board games. Lonely? Hardly. Thanks, but I'm quite busy. Actually, enjoy your quiet celebration, I texted back, then slipped the phone into my pocket just as the photographer arrived. He moved through the house like a gentle observer, capturing the kind of joy you can't stage. The unfiltered laughter, the amber sunlight pouring through the windows, the steam rising from mugs clutched in mittened hands. He showed me a preview on his camera. "These could be in a winter editorial," he said. "It's magic here." Just after noon, my phone rang again. "Isabella, sweetheart," Mom said. "Are you sure you don't want to swing by for dessert? Clara's making her famous pumpkin pie." I stepped onto the balcony, the scent of pine and roasted chestnuts wrapping around me. Below, Uncle Walter was guiding my little cousin down a snow-covered hill on a wooden sled. "Actually, Mom, I'm hosting Thanksgiving lunch right now. Can I call you back?" There was a pause. "Hosting? Where? Where are you exactly?" "Stowe," I said. "I bought a farmhouse here back in September." Silence. "You bought a farmhouse? In Vermont? Why didn't you tell us?" I exhaled slowly, watching the wind stir the pines. "Why would I? You've made it clear my life doesn't fit into your version of what matters." I glanced inside at the glowing faces, the full table, the warmth. Besides, I didn't want to disturb your peaceful Thanksgiving. If you've ever been overlooked, underestimated, or quietly building something no one saw coming, hit subscribe, because the next part of this story, that's when the photos go public and everything changes. "Who are you hosting?" Mom asked, her voice teetering between confusion and disbelief. "Oh, just the family," I said casually. "Aunt June and Uncle Walter, Cousin Leo and his whole crew, Alina, Tara, and the rest of the cousins with their kids." I let the words land, soft but deliberate. "Basically, everyone except you, Dad, and Clara." Silence. "Actually," I continued, "they've been here all week." I could almost hear her breath catch. "A week?" "Yup, we've done wine tastings, snowshoeing, baking classes, even wandered into the village shops. It's been incredible." The pause on her end crackled, brittle and sharp. "But they always come to our house for Thanksgiving." "Things change," I said gently. "Sometimes people go where they're genuinely wanted." "That's not fair, Isabella. We just wanted a quiet—" "I need to go," I said, cutting her off. "The photographer's about to take group shots and Chef Alain is plating the first course." I ended the call. A soft knock tapped at the doorway. Aunt June stepped in, her cheeks rosy from the cold, a twinkle in her eyes. "Let me guess," she said, smiling knowingly. "Catherine just realized what she's missing." I nodded as she pulled me into a warm embrace. "She did." "Good," Aunt June said, firm and sure. "Maybe next time they'll think twice before shutting you out." The rest of the afternoon unfolded like something from a dream. Chef Alain served a 5-course feast that blended Vermont farm comfort with elevated mountain cuisine. Maple brined turkey, truffle-stuffed mushrooms, butternut squash soup topped with sage oil, and a cranberry brioche bread pudding that had even the kids asking for seconds. Each course flowed with carefully chosen wines from the Champlain Valley, laughter rolling over candlelight and clinking glasses. We dined beneath a canopy of twinkling string lights as the sky burned in sunset shades of amber, plum, and coral. And in that moment, I wasn't thinking about who didn't show up. I was thinking about who did. My phone buzzed again. Text from Clara, missed calls from Mom, even one from Dad. I let them go unanswered. Bye, Ethel Dagner. Instead, I listened to Cousin Leo reenact a wild story from his old band days, watched little Grace sneak a third helping of tart, laughed as Nadia tried to toast without knocking over her glass. The photographer floated quietly through it all, capturing not just the smiles, but the sense of belonging. Because this wasn't just Thanksgiving, it was ours. Later that night, after the dishes were cleared and stars scattered across the sky, I finally glanced at my phone. Buried among the missed calls was one curious notification. Clara has added you to her close friends list, I smiled. Like the close friends who remind me. I knew exactly what was coming. Tomorrow, as the photographer's pictures spread across social media, as cousins posted reels of our snowy mountaintop Thanksgiving, they'd see it, all of it. But that was tomorrow's reckoning. Tonight, I had something far more important. A family who chose me, who chose to be here, who chose connection over obligation, because that was what I was truly thankful for. The morning after Thanksgiving, I woke to the smell of warm maple scones and the sound of muffled laughter drifting through the frosted fir trees. Through the glass doors of my balcony, I could see cousins gathering on the deck with steaming mugs, while the kids tumbled through the snow, building forts and flinging snowballs across the glittering meadow. My phone buzzed nonstop. The photographer had delivered the first batch of photos overnight, and just as I'd expected, the posts had started. And they were breathtaking. One shot captured our golden hour feast under glowing lanterns, the mountain peaks silhouetted behind us. Another showed the little ones bundled in scarves, chasing sleds down gentle slopes. There were candid photos, too. Wine glasses mid-test, hands clasped across the table. Unfiltered smiles, joy radiating from every frame. Aunt June posted an album titled A Thanksgiving to Remember, with a caption that read, "When one door closes, another opens, sometimes in the Green Mountains. Thank you, Isabella, for reminding us what family truly means." The comments rolled in quickly, from old neighbors, church friends, and even a few country club members I hadn't spoken to in years. Most were kind, some were curious, but several were pointed. "Where are Catherine and Robert? Why weren't you at this, Clara?" Clara called first. "Why didn't you tell me?" she snapped. Her voice cracked between irritation and disbelief. "A farmhouse in Vermont? With everyone there? Mom is freaking out." "Tell you?" I said, sipping coffee and watching the frost sparkle on the pine branches outside. "Like how you told me about your 4th of July party? Or the twins' birthday? That's different." "No, Claire, it's not. You 3 built your little bubble. That's fine, but I built something better." In the background, one of her twins began crying. Her tone softened. "Mom's devastated. Her friends keep asking questions." She hesitated. "The Kowalskis canceled Christmas dinner with us to accept your New Year's invite." I raised an eyebrow. I hadn't even announced a New Year's gathering yet. Apparently, the family had done it for me. "Well," I said simply, "I guess Mom got the quiet holiday she wanted." Clara was quiet. "It was boring," she finally admitted. "Dad fell asleep during football, the kids were restless, and Mom just kept checking her phone. It wasn't—" She stopped. "It wasn't like Thanksgiving should be." "No," I said, slipping my phone into my sweater pocket. "It wasn't." I stepped out onto the deck, where real family was waiting, with laughter, warmth, and second rounds of coffee. Uncle Walter was organizing a snowmobile ride through the woods. Aunt June and Cousin Tara were mapping out a visit to the winter markets in town. And for the first time in years, I didn't feel like I was missing anything. The kids were torn between building a snow fort or heading to the nearby covered bridge trail. Someone floated the idea of a thermos picnic near the frozen lake. Then my phone rang. "Princess," Dad said, slipping into that familiar softened tone, the one he always used when he wanted something, usually for Clara's sake. "Your mother and I have been talking." "Dad?" I said gently, watching through the frosted window as Uncle Walter helped little Grace into her snow boots. "I'm just about to head out for the snowmobile tour. Can this wait?" "That's actually what we wanted to talk about," he said. "Family, unity, rebuilding bridges." I turned slightly, watching my real family bundled in scarves and laughter, planning another unforgettable day. "Your mother's very upset about all this," he added. "I'm sure she is," I replied evenly. "But you know what, Dad? I've been upset for years." Silence. Every time you skipped my milestones, every time you brushed off my career, every time Clara's life came first. The difference is, I turned that pain into something beautiful. But planning Thanksgiving? Buying a farmhouse without telling us? Like the holidays you planned without me? I asked. Doesn't feel so great, does it? Another pause. This one heavier. "No," he finally admitted. "It doesn't." "And enjoy your peaceful weekend, Dad. I need to go, Uncle Walter's waiting." I ended the call. The days that followed were a joyful, snow-dusted blur. We snowshoed through quiet forests, took a fireside wine tasting at a local mountain vineyard, and learned to make spiced pear galettes and Vermont-style venison stew from a Burlington chef who told the best stories. The photographer caught everything. Sled rides, snowball fights, game night debates, glowing family dinners. Our feeds lit up, and so did my parents' phones. "Where is this farmhouse? Why weren't you there? Isabella planned this?" The daughter they sidelined had suddenly become the headline of every conversation. A week later, as cars pulled away and the last hugs were shared, Aunt June wrapped me tight. "We'll try to get invited to Christmas," she whispered in my ear. I nodded. "It's already booked." "Oh?" she asked, pulling back. "I'm taking everyone to my chalet in the Swiss Alps." Her eyes widened. "You have a chalet?" "Bought it last spring," I said with a grin. "New traditions, right?" Later, as I stood alone on the snow-dusted deck, watching the soft dusk settle over the hills, my phone buzzed again. A message from Mom. "Honey, about Christmas. Your father and I have been thinking." I left it unread. Let them wonder. Let them finally feel what it's like to be on the outside. Because sometimes the best revenge isn't noise, it's distance, it's growth. And as I breathed in the crisp Vermont air, already picturing the crisp slopes of Switzerland, I knew one thing with certainty. I'd never spend another holiday feeling like an afterthought again. If you've ever been the one overlooked, left out, or quietly building a life no one believed in, leave me a comment. Tell me what you're building. Remind yourself what you're worth. I spent years waiting for a seat at someone else's table until I realized I could build my own and fill it with people who truly see me. Subscribe if this story speaks to you. Share your thoughts, your love, your lessons, because sometimes the quiet ones carry the loudest truths. And if you're still waiting for your moment, don't. Create it. I promise it's worth it.